Welcome to the San Diego Comic-Con 2021 Dynamite panel. I'm here with what I'm calling the California crew. I have two multifaceted, talented Renaissance men. I'll do some quick introductions and then we'll jump right into things. I have here with me Rodney Barnes, screenwriter and producer of film and of course comic books. He's been attached to such properties as The Boondocks, Everybody Hates Chris, Runaways, American Gods, and he's working on an HBO drama about the iconic Showtime Lakers. And in comics, he's known for the hit Image horror title based in my backyard. The title is Killadelphia. And for Marvel, he's written Falcon and Lando from Star Wars. And now with Dynamite, he's got Army of Darkness 1979 out in September, and a new James Bond series titled Himeros this October. So Rodney, if you want to say hi and correct me if I got anything wrong.
Hey, no, you got everything. You took everything I was about to say about me and did it perfectly. So thank you.
All right. Great. I saved you some breath. So on my other side, metaphorically and virtually, I have David Avallone. David also has a background in film. He's also the co-creator of the independent comic book and crowdfunding sensation Drawing Blood with Kevin Eastman, co-created the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And he's the host of two fun ongoing podcasts, Pulp Today, which focuses on classic pulp fiction, while the Writer's Block shares behind-the-scenes stories on the industry with other comic book writers, creators, and figures. And with Dynamite, he's been the shepherd of the one and only Elvira, Mistress of the Dark in comics, as well as Bettie Page and other projects. So thank you for joining us, David, and if I got anything wrong there.
No, that covers it. I've done a few more titles for Dynamite, obviously, but we're not running down the whole resume.
Yeah. All right, we'll kick things right off. So Rodney, let's start with Army of Darkness, as that is the closest for you with us. So I wanted to know, what's your history with the franchise as a fan first, as a viewer, and how are you looking to approach this new story?
I love the films and I love the books. And, for me, tackling a project that has horror and comedy elements in it, I never really done that before, so I was looking forward to the challenge. I mean, the book itself is pretty out there, as Ash is, and just hoping the fans really dig it.
Yeah, I think they will. And here, we just referenced the movies and all the original material. So Ash is no stranger to time travel. In the titular Army of Darkness film, he ends up in medieval times. But now you're taking him, as the title indicates, to 1970s New York City. So what kind of inspired that take?
Well, I love the film The Warriors, and I love the Scorsese 70s, I guess you could say. Those rough and tumble streets with the burning trash cans. I kind of envision it like Escape from New York. That's my favorite version of New York, unfortunately. And throwing Ash into that world and seeing how he would fare against different colorful groups of gangs and just all of the seediness of Times Square and that New York was it's kind of fun.
Yeah, and in fact, the Escape from New York point is interesting because I think one of the covers, it's Arthur Sidam, known for a lot of his Army of Darkness covers and zombies, doing a take on classic iconography of the Statue of Liberty. And then Tom Garcia is the artist on the series, and he's no stranger to fantastical action. He did our Pathfinder stories for us based on the role-playing game. So how has it been collaborating with him and seeing the pages roll in?
Man, it's so much fun. It's funny how he interprets movement that I didn't even intend. He keeps the story and the pacing going along really, really well. There are really no dull moments. There's really not a lot of the transitions from scene to scene really work really, really well. And I can't say enough for his work. It's fantastic.
Yeah, he's a great artist. And actually, just while I'm mentioning artists, it is cool to note that your collaborator on Killadelphia, Jason Sean Alexander, is doing the cover as well for the series. So I'm sure that's pretty cool on your side.
I can't get rid of him. It seems like every time I turn around, there's Jason. It's like he's stalking me in some way. But yes, it's fun. I love his cover. I love Jason. Doesn't sound like it all the time, but I do.
Yeah, he's a great artist. So now we'll over to David for some grilling. So Elvira Meets Vincent Price is dropping this August.
Yes.
Barely after when this panel should be going live. And you've been working with the Mistress of the Dark in comics since we started with her in 2018, and you've done some other off the beaten path and interesting things along the way. So how has it been this whole time, and also what makes this new project particularly exciting for you?
Well, first off, I do want to say about I can't wait to see Army of Darkness in the 70s. And Rodney, your New York is the New York of my childhood and my adolescence. And it's so hard to explain to people who are under 40 that Escape from New York did not feel like a science fiction movie when it was released in the 80s. It felt like it was going to happen tomorrow.
Yes.
It felt like it was a sequel to The Warriors.
Yeah.
But that's it. I just have to say that because I love that period as well, and I'm jealous that you get to write in it. The Elvira experience, she is such a pleasure to work with, and she has been my collaborator from the beginning in that she reads everything, she approves everything. She's only offered the kindest and most gentle of notes, and she usually prefaces them by saying, "You don't have to take these notes." And I'm like, I'm going to, though. Because an Elvira joke is better than a me doing Elvira joke about 99.999% of the time. And over the course of the series, I've had her time travel. I've had her go to hell. So she's interacted with a lot of historical figures and celebrities and, famous horror people like Mary Shelley and Bram Stoker and Vlad the Impaler. And so the opportunity to pair her up with Vincent Price, which was suggested by Elvira, Price is such an indelible character. And he's like Elvira, he's just one of those people who's a joy to write because it's so easy to imagine him in any given situation. And like Elvira, he's sort of got endless good humor, and you can sort of put him into anything. And he is a charming guide, a charming host, a charming character. So writing him in Elvira is sort of like writing a Hope and Crosby movie. Elvira and Vincent Price on the road to Egypt in this case. And it's just been a joy. We started the project last year and the pandemic hit, and then it was pencils down. And then I finished writing it early this year, and Juan has been drawing it, and the pages look fantastic.
Yeah, you almost jumped a tiny bit ahead on some of the other things I wanted to hit on, but I'm sure we can still mine them for a bit. So you touched on this, but obviously Elvira now has a big co-star in this story. So I wanted to know, like, what kind of research, if any, did you put into pulling Vincent Price into the story, and how fun has it been trying to capture, his own brand of charisma?
Sure. I felt pretty well versed in Price, but I went back and we rewatched some of my favorite movies and watched some that I hadn't seen in decades and watched some that I had never seen. And I did some research into his personal life, which I didn't know as much about. This doesn't come up anywhere in the story, but it's just such a wonderful thing to know about him. In the 50s and 60s, he made a deal with Sears to go around the world collecting moderately priced art, classical fine art, like Picasso sketches that were still affordable. And Sears stores in the late 50s and early 60s had a Vincent Price gallery where you could buy fine art as well as your hardware supplies and your your Dickies and whatever else you were getting at a Sears. And just that commitment to bringing high art to a not particularly pretentious place like a Sears it's so revealing of character that it's like, people in a Sears deserve to look at a Picasso. Like that tells you so much about him as a human being. And I've read about his marriages and his affairs and all that, and just a fascinating, lovely guy. So it was really, again, it's just so great to be able to write as a character. He's a gift.
Yeah, that's a wild story. I'll have to look into that a little bit more as well. So you already touched on this a little bit, but though one of your previous artists, David Costa, is back for spectacular covers, among others, now Juan Samu is handling the interior art. So how do you think he's capturing the Mistress of the Dark? Because obviously she has a very particular aesthetic, and
Absolutely.
you have to capture her character and everything.
Yeah, Dave Acosta, I think, told me once he spent a week working on her eye makeup alone before he started drawing so that he could easily and quickly draw her eye makeup because it is very complicated. Juan's doing an amazing job. He has a very different style from Dave's, but the likenesses are spot on. His Vincent likenesses are fantastic. And in a comic like this is really, you really need to feel like you're looking at those people and hearing their voices. And Juan's got a, great gift for storytelling. I do insist on having Dave do covers because since Dave was the artist on the original Elvira book we did together, I feel like that adds a continuity that you get the comic and it's got Dave Acosta on the cover, but Juan's doing an amazing job.
Yeah, that's great to hear. So now I'm going to bounce back to Rodney with some quick James Bond discussion. So I teased at the top of the show, and this series should be barely announced by the time this panel goes live. So we won't go too deep. But what draws you to the iconic spot?
Love the books, love the movies. All the different iterations of Bond, and it's just a challenge. Being able to have that international flair and a big story and a big character in a big story that's very passionate about the subject matter that's under the tale I'm telling. Just a big honor to be a part of that world and that character.
Yeah, and then it has a very interesting subtitle. So I don't know if you were interested in how would you explain the subtitle, and also if you want to tease just a bit your general gist of where you're going with your story.
Bond is dealing with a high-profile sex trafficker and getting into that seedy underworld that is international. It's dealing with high-tech weapons and a bunch of different themes and a bunch of different stuff that I don't know whether or not I can talk about. But just exciting to be able to venture into that realm.
Yeah, that's fantastic. All right, we'll kind of close off things here. How about we'll do one funny question. So if you guys want to, what would be your take on some of your characters if they were to meet? So if Ash from Army of Darkness and Elvira hung out, I mean obviously they have some cross section there, and then even James Bond and Elvira, I'm sure that would be very spicy. So
Yeah.
whoever wants to kick things
I
off.
think Elvira would be the one woman who would scare James Bond just a little tiny
Yes,
bit.
yes.
Not that he is easily intimidated. I've actually considered pitching an Ash and Elvira thing. It's never quite come together, but I mean I think it seems like a natural, and I think everyone would dig it. I mean they're naturally in each other's universes,
I think Bond would be repulsed by Ash. They're so different. He might actually have some respect for Elvira. I mean, she is strong. She is opinionated. I think you never know. They may find magic, the two of them.
They're definitely both in control of their respective universes. Like no one gets the better of either of them. And I think Bond would definitely admire that about Elvira. And I'm a huge James Bond fan coming and going, and like Rodney going back, I saw my first Bond movie when I was 7 or 8, which don't show Bond movies to 7-year-olds. What the hell's wrong with you? But and then I went out and read all of the books, loved the books. One of these days I hope to do one of the highfalutin Dynamite graphic novel adaptations of one of the books. I think the next one up is Diamonds Are Forever, which is like my least favorite book, so I'm probably not going to be lobbying for that one. But,
All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining. And then I plugged a lot of well, not necessarily plugged, but I mentioned a lot of your other projects and everything at the top. But if you guys want to close off with any mention real quick on some of your other projects or where people should follow you, and then we'll close things up.
Well, you can find me at the Rodney Barnes on Twitter and Instagram. And you already mentioned most of what I'm doing right now. I'm actually here on set with the Lakers show right now. So March of 22, that should be dropping. But other than that, you find me in comic book shops.
Where is that Lakers show going to be? Did you say Showtime?
HBO.
HBO.
The name of it, the
opposite of
running
Showtime.
title is Showtime, but it'll be on HBO, which is not confusing at all.
Look, it could be worse. The show could be called Cinemax. That wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah, that would be hard. Epics, yeah.
That sounds great, Rodney. Yeah, I can be found at davidavallonefreelance.com. And everything branching off into all the other stuff I do can be found there. And we do have 2 other Elvira projects in the pipeline, which are Kickstarters, but those haven't been announced yet. So I don't think I can even say the titles. One of them will probably be the return of Dave Acosta drawing, or definitely. And the other one, again, an exciting artist, but I can't announce that just yet.
All right, well, we're leaving you with some teases, and that's a good time to plug Dynamite. Make sure to follow Dynamite on all your social media platforms, and make sure you're getting our emails, as a customer, so all the deals, all the news, everything awesome. So thank you guys again for joining, and we will see you guys in San Diego Comic-Con, however the convention worked this year. So thank you guys again for the panel.
Nice.
Right now I'm joined by what I'm calling the East Coast crew. I'm reporting live from Philadelphia. Jimmy is down in Florida. As you can see, he's on the beach right now. Beautiful background, sharing the sun. And Fred, you're reporting in from Brooklyn, right?
I am, where the weak are killed and eaten.
Yes. The tough streets of Brooklyn. So
That's right.
my name
mean
is
office.
My name is Vincent Faust on behalf of Dynamite, and with me I have 2 wonderful creators. I already said their names, but I'll real quick go through if you don't know who these people are somehow. So Jimmy Palmiotti has a career in comics going back 30 years as a writer, artist, inker, editor, publisher, and more. You may know him from celebrated inking jobs with top artists, or maybe his 1990s independent publishing venture with Event Comics, or as a founder of the Marvel Knights imprint, or a writer on beloved comics like Harley Quinn, Jonah Hex, Power Girl, Deadpool, and many more, or recent self-published crowdfunding hits. And we've worked with him at Dynamite on several projects, but today we'll primarily be chatting about Invincible Red Sonja and whatever tangents he'd like to take us on. So did I miss anything there, Jimmy?
Sure, but who cares? I think you did great.
All right, on to Fred. Fred's known for fun comics like Action Philosophers, the comic book history of comics, and the comic book history of animation, as well as works with major publishers like Incredible Hercules, Archer and Armstrong, and Marvel Zombies, which is fitting because we picked him to lead the charge on our smash hit Dynamite crossover, and that's DIE exclamation point Dynamite.
Spelling is important.
Which pits all your favorites against the zombie apocalypse. And loosely spinning out of that series, kind of an announcement today, will be announced around when this panel goes live. He's kicking off a solo return of Jennifer Blood, the character created by Garth Ennis. And he also wrote a whole play about the life of Jack Kirby, which is pretty dope.
Which is now an audio drama you can listen to on iTunes, Spotify, or really anywhere you get your podcasts. Original cast.
All right, so Fred, you pretty much get to go wild in Dynamite. And now in the sequel, the stakes are getting even higher. How has it been guiding this wild ride?
It's been super fun. Like, I love the mishmash of superheroes and sort of pulp characters like John Carter, and now we have Ash from Army of Darkness running around. But dude with snafu, he has a weed whacker on his arm instead of a chainsaw. Red Sonja now has the powers of evil Ernie, and so she is now evil Sonja, and she is leading the undead hordes to wipe out all of life so she can die finally and move on to the next phase of oblivion. And she still has Peter Cannon Thunderbolt advising her because he's a mystic smarty pants who knows the ins and outs of the modern world. We introduce a new character in the second issue, General Battle Fields. Get it? Another Dynamite title. So we're just cramming all the Dynamite references in there. Garth Ennis's war book. And what else? And Captain Future shows up with Frankenstein army to fight the zombies. So we have one form of undead battling other forms of undead. It's just stupid fun, and I love it. And it's super gory and crazy. And the fans seem to really be responding to it, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's great. And like you said, it's brought in a couple new guest characters. If you want to speak to that a little bit more and what makes each of those characters so fun to bring in and write.
Well, they're all great. The new character, another new character that got introduced in this series and the sequel is Panther, another Warren horror character, and she is literally Vampirella's sister. I decided.
Good move.
They are from Draculon, the planet where everyone is a Dracula or a Wolfman, or in this case, Vampirella or a wolf woman. And Vampirella and Panther do not get along a lot. They fight like cats and bats. And so that's been super fun to write their interactions, particularly when they interact with Ash, who is kind of this, like, I wouldn't go so far as to call him like a chauvinist, but he has kind of like an old school kind of attitude towards who he calls them monster chicks. He's like, what's with these monster chicks getting up in my face, man? And another character that appears is Jennifer Blood, the aforementioned Jennifer Blood. She appears in Dynamite Lives, and sort of in her sort of mission of vengeance is very mysterious, and I won't spoil anything here. But I'm also writing right now the Jennifer Blood series, which is a different kind of gory fun. But gory fun. I know this is segmented. I don't know if I don't want to like leap into Jennifer Blood before
we'll get
premature.
Are you talking
itching.
to Garth at all? Did you talk to Garth like when you're consulting?
I would love to find out what he finds out about this. That's up to Nikki. I would absolutely.
You can take the train. You can take the train.
I know. Doesn't he live like in Manhattan, right?
What part of Brooklyn are you in?
Just right over the river, like Borum Hill, Gowanus.
He's in Manhattan. So yeah, I probably wouldn't want me telling.
Here's his address, fans.
Here's where Garth hangs out all the time. No.
Let's
that'd be awesome. No, I'd love to do that. I'd love to hear what he thought. We're having a lot of fun with that series because I've been watching a lot of. I don't know if you guys are familiar with giallo movies from Italy from the 70s, the super gory mysteries. So this is very much a comic book giallo. And Vincenzo, who is writing it, is from Naples, and so I'm getting him to. They'll have Italian characters in the comics, so I'm getting him to teach me all the Neapolitan swear words, and it's very exciting. So it's really authentic, you know.
I know some too, if you need.
Excellent. So I know I can email Jimmy also.
Yes, it's okay.
And on that note, so Jimmy, Invincible Red Sonja kicked off in May, which seems like forever ago, even as we record this panel ahead of time.
Right.
But the response from fans, critics, and retailers so far has been really positive. So I wanted to know, how happy are you with how the series has turned out so far?
Yeah, I mean, once I knew we had Moritat on the art, I kind of was relaxing a little bit because he's a guy that I worked with on All Star Western, and I kind of know, Amanda and I kind of know how to write for him, which is, a big part of doing the comics is I won't write a book unless I know who the artist is. So, once we got him nailed for the series, it was kind of easy to go from there because I know what he likes to draw. And we had a nice long conversation with him where I just said, give me a checklist of the things you've always wanted to draw, and somehow I'll get them in. We'll get them in there in the story. And so far, so good. I think issue 5 and 6, we got some more volcanoes and we got some more crazy stuff coming. But no, it's been great. I mean, Amanda and I have been fans of Red Sonja, like me, when Roy Thomas and started it with Frank Thorne, and Amanda's more of a Frank Thorne, the later books. So it's always nice to get to write. I mean, I did write a one-shot for Dynamite years ago with a Liam Sharp, a Red Sonja book, and since then I wanted to come back and maybe just tell another story, and this one is like a checklist of the things I didn't get to do in the other series. I'm like getting to do here, and I'm testing you guys all the time by pushing the envelope, how much I can get away with. Amanda and I kind of write it how we see it, and then we wait for you guys to tell us, well, you really can't do that. And that is our daily fun thing, is what we can get in trouble for. Poor Matt Idelson has to deal with us, and the editor, but we're having a good time. I mean, again, it's we've actually pulled back from doing a lot of work recently. So this has been a kind of a fun busy for us, you know. She's such an easy character to write, I think, because everything she wants and is about is right there, you know. It's just been great so far. I'm you know, it's unusual with COVID and everything going on. I usually get a lot of feedback at the shows, you know, so it's been a little unusual because, you know, the internet is a funny thing. You know, you find most fans aren't even on social media, so I'm looking forward to the cons to get some feedback and commentary. So you know, but yeah, it's been great so far.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, the past coming up on 2 years been very different without the cons and different kinds of, you know, different ways that creators and fans are interacting. But everything we've seen has been, you know, pretty positive. People are really digging the series. And you talked about giving, you know, Moritad all kinds of fun things to draw. We've got pirates, princesses, and all kinds of action. It's been really fun.
Yeah, I think being in the house for a year has inspired me to go, you know, outward in the storytelling. And again, you know, I look at everything like this. If this is the last time I ever get to write this character, you know, and Amanda and I get to work on this character, we want to make it epic. Thus, we put the title Invincible in front of Red Sonja. I wanted to also separate it from the other Sonja books and just, you know, because we're doing something a little different with this one.
Yeah, so as you've mentioned, we kicked off the series with you co-writing with your amazing wife, writing partner, and superstar artist Amanda Connor. But I believe we're excited to announce that you'll be continuing on the title yourself a little bit, a couple issues forward. So can you tease what you're cooking up as you continue on the book?
Well, that all teeters on who we get to draw it. So I'm negotiating. We're looking at Perfect World. You know, I'd want Moritad to continue, but I don't know if he can. So it all comes down to who, if we find the right replacement. I have to work with. I have to know who the artist is before I do anything. And so past the 6 issues with Moritad, I'm not going to know exactly what we're doing, you know, so this is in advance of this panel. So I'm not going to know until I know who the artist is. And so it's not like I'm sitting on a story and hoping to find an artist to fit it. The way I'm surrounding this is I have to see who the artist is, and then I'm going to know what kind of story. I'm going to talk to them, and I'm going to find out what that person has an interest in drawing, and then work from there. I just feel that if you're going to give an artist something they really want to draw, that you're going to get a better job out of them. And that probably was the theme for me back with me and Joe for back in Marvel Knights, is like the right people on the right story and what they want to do. So it makes a better book. So past that, I will guarantee that it has Red Sonja in it. She probably will have a sword, and she probably will be in a crazy circumstance. But as far as the details, again, you know, that's a nuance. Once I get the right artist on it, or the person, you know, I'll be able to go crazy and have fun. I mean, it's a character, like I said, that's easy to write. She's not tied to a place like Batman in Gotham or Superman in Metropolis, or, you know, she is a wanderer and she keeps moving. So that offers up a lot of story ideas right there.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Obviously, you know, you have a background in art yourself as well, so it makes sense that you want to collaborate closely with the artists and craft the story to them.
Yeah, I mean, I you know, I definitely, you know, what's important to me is storytelling before, you know, something looks cool. I honestly, I have to know the artist can tell a story from panel to panel, and there's continuity with character and backgrounds. And I'm not a big fan of lazy artists, so I demand backgrounds and I demand interaction between characters. You know, it's great. It's not the 90s anymore. I do like people to interact and communicate. And Fred's laughing over there. I know, you know what I'm saying.
I do.
I
do. That's when I first started out.
We do try and make it still look cool, though. And as far as cool stuff, I'll come back to Fred. As I announced up top, SPTs, Jennifer Blood is appearing in Dynamite Lives, but you're also breaking her out into her own series this October. So can you fill us in on some of the story that series will be telling and what kind of cool stuff we can see there?
Sure. This is absolutely continuation from the previous series that Garth and Al Ewing did. It is not a reboot. This is set in a town. Basically, if you've seen the ending of Goodfellas, where Ray Liotta is stuck in this kind of boring Western cul-de-sac suburbs, this series is set in a town called Bountiful that's run by the Witness Protection Program. And so it's filled with mobsters, allegedly former mobsters, and various other criminals that have all been squirreled away in here. And the mayor's a criminal, the judge is a criminal, the sheriff is a criminal. It's a town full of criminals. And so for Jennifer Blood, this is what we like to call a target-rich environment. And murders begin happening in the town, supposedly from Jennifer Blood. And those of you who read the original series know that Jennifer Blood died in prison, right? Supposedly. So how could this possibly be going on? So the mob brings in the best hitman in Italy for the Gomorrah. Giulietta Romeo shows up to track down Jennifer Blood and try and stop the murders. But will Jennifer Blood get her first? Read the whole series and find out, kids.
I don't think so. I think that's it for Jennifer Blood. It sounds like a really dangerous guy.
But she's dead though. So if she survived the being killed the first time, is she what's going on here? It's a big question mark.
Is Jennifer Bloodless, I guess.
That's right. Yeah, I think we're calling it Jennifer Bloodlines. I think that is the official title, which my great editor Nate Cosby came up with. So we're having a good time with it. But yeah, it's a great. It's extremely violent, as befitting. As I said, the inspiration is more giallo Italian horror. I guess they're really more thrillers and mysteries than they are horror movies. But it's a very bloody. It's very much in the spirit. And like we were saying earlier, I very much hope Garth approves. It's very much in his spirit.
Yeah, and slightly unlike Jimmy, I mean, obviously, Moritat still has a couple issues still to come on Invincible Red Sonja, but as we mentioned, some of the, the rest of the creative info is still being solidified as the series moves forward. But you do have a creative team in place for Jennifer Blood. So if you want to talk to any of, how the collaboration has been with them, and, you mentioned Vincenzo, who's an Italian artist himself, has been, working, made a lot of sense on this story.
Yes, Vincenzo Visca, not to be confused with Vincenzo Caruto, who's drawing Dynamite Lives. So it's where I'm double teaming the Vincenzos and my Dynamite work.
That's not a great sentence right there.
Oh no, that's good. That's gonna get on Twitter.
Okay.
No, he's amazing, and we're very much in the early process, and I'm still waiting on layouts for the first issue, but he pinch hit for us over on Dynamite, the first series. So I'm familiar with working with him, and he Facebook messages me a lot. It sort of odd hours for me because he's in, like I said, in Naples.
How is his English?
Good, really good, better than mine. Yeah, it's really good, and he's, like I said, he's helping me up with the sheer volume of Italian cursing in this comic is almost as gruesome as the violence.
What is your favorite curse so far?
That's a really good question. Let me pull up the script actually of the second issue because I have it written out. It's very long.
I have a bunch. I have a bunch, but I don't know if it's not panel friendly.
This is absolutely not panel friendly.
I feel like it's a gray area where most of the viewers are going to be speaking and watching in English. So,
Porca puttana vaccia troia.
Oh, okay, that's it. So we recognize the Bhutan right away as whore.
That's right.
So we don't have to go further than that.
I don't know quite what the literal translation is, but it's several very bad words strung together and sort of an exclamation of dismay.
I think it's something to give the kids to do. You know, they can get the Google Translate.
That's right.
and
Whip the
then
Google
drop their
Translate
stuff
out.
in,
Exactly. 100%.
and then see a butchered version of what it really is.
That's right. That's why I have Vincenzo for, so he can like correct me, you know, like the other day I was like, so let's say something's not going well, like something really like, you know, you are unexpectedly dismayed. What level of profanity would be appropriate for this? And he was like, well, you could say this, but actually here in Naples we say this. And I was like,
Yeah, and
I'm just cutting and pasting from Facebook Messenger into my
it's different. It's different in the cities in Italy too. Some curses are way different in Sicily than they are in some place like Naples or Rome. You know, so it's kind of fun.
Yeah, exactly. But this character I specifically, well, I wanted her to be Camorra, you know, the mafia in Naples. I just realized that sounds just like the Guardians of the Galaxy character. Am I pronouncing that right?
There's no such thing as the mafia. So just so you know.
That's right. That's right.
That's just protecting you, buddy.
Thank you. Anyone, and I'm not in Brooklyn, by the way. I'm in LA.
Brooklyn,
Look for me in LA.
It's a suburb of Kentucky, Brooklyn.
That's right. That's right. But Brooklyn, Ohio. I grew up near Brooklyn in Ohio. Yeah, so it's just, as you can tell, it's fun murder times all the time when Jennifer Blood is involved.
Yeah.
All right, this panel has also been educational. We've taught a bit about
Language
the
arts.
Italian language, maybe a little bit of geography as well.
That's right.
So I'd like to thank you guys for joining. We'll kind of wrap things up here. Do you guys have anything you want to plug on top of all the Dynamite plugging we've been doing, where people can find you, etc.?
Fred, you go.
Sure. First. If you can spell my name, that's my handle on Twitter. That's my .com is my website and so forth. I guess new app for me is the aforementioned comic book history of animation by me and Ryan Dunleavy. That'll be out from IDW on July 20th in trade paperback.
And for me, I have a Kickstarter coming in a couple of weeks. A book, name of the book is called Rage. Well, it might be out by the time people watch this. It's painted by Scott Hampton, and Scott and I kind of it's just a little graphic novel thing we put together. It's fun, it's over the top, it's adult, and it's pretty much about the in one night the world goes completely insane, and about how a father and daughter get separated and have to connect again. So it has, you know, it has the pulls the heartstrings while a lot of bloody crazy stuff happens. Got that, and yeah, just more Sonja, and like there's so much I can't tell you. It can fill a book, but those are the things I can talk about. So you know, Amanda and I have been going to be doing a lot of Kickstarters, a little less mainstream stuff and more of our own work in the future. So that's pretty much what's ahead.
All right, thank you guys once more for joining. Everyone go follow Jimmy and Fred on various social medias, wherever you choose to doom scroll. And thanks for joining us for San Diego Comic-Con.